Thank you all for joining us for today's announcement. We have three speakers this morning: Member of Parliament Patrick Weiler, Minister of Environment and Climate Change Jonathan Wilkinson, and in Victoria, BC's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Claire Trevena. And before we commence, a reminder to the media on the phone, please do press star 1 to line up for questions. We will begin this morning with remarks from MP Weiler. MP Weiler, go ahead, please.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Shruti, for the kind introduction. And I'd like to begin this announcement by acknowledging that this is taking place today on the traditional and unceded territories of the Squamish, Lil'wat, and the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. And I want to thank these nations and all nations across BC for welcoming us to their lands and waters. As someone who started taking ferries regularly from the age of 5, I know how important this essential service is to coastal BC. Increasing the amount of BC Ferries sailings is the #1 priority for our communities like I know the Sunshine Coast that depend on our marine highways. And this pandemic has moved this from a priority to a necessity. And as demand for BC Ferries has rebounded as we reopen our economy, and as BC Ferries has grappled with significant changes to their operations as a result of public health guidance, the reduction in year-over-year sailings has created delays and frustration. Less service has impacted the ability of people to get to medical appointments or long-awaited surgeries, and it impacts the ability of first responders to do their work. It disrupts supply chains for coastal businesses, and it impairs people commuting to work. And I think there are probably more commuters in my riding than any other riding in BC, as long as we're not counting the C-Bus. And it also impacts the abilities of families to connect, for people to vacation in their second home, and it is the biggest obstacle for coastal tourism businesses to thrive as we staycation in our beautiful province of BC this year. So reduced revenues has also impacted the ability of BC Ferries to make much needed investments in more ferries and improve terminals so that a high level of service can be assured in the future. So these are just some of the reasons I've emphasized to our Deputy Prime Minister and my colleagues in caucus as to why restored ferry service needs to be part of the restart plan. I therefore could not be happier that the federal and provincial governments are stepping up for ferries and to be here today to participate in this announcement. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague from across the Capitolina River, the Honourable Jonathan Wilkinson, our Minister of Environment and Climate Change, who also knows a thing or two about our oceans from his former role as the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui. Thank you very much, Patrick, for that introduction. I would also like to acknowledge that this event is taking place on the traditional and ancestral territories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. Over the past number of months, Canadians have worked in a thoughtful and a respectful manner in the fight against COVID-19 by following public health guidelines and taking safety precautions such as physical distancing and wearing masks. Thanks to those actions, our economies have begun to reopen again, and life is starting to resemble normalcy, at least to a degree. Fighting COVID-19 has always been a Team Canada effort, where federal, provincial, and territorial governments have come together across partisan divides and worked effectively in common cause. I believe it will continue to be one as we move through the relaxation and eventually into the recovery phase. This approach was reflected in the Safe Restart Agreement that Prime Minister Trudeau announced recently with the provinces and territories. This agreement will see over $19 billion invested by the federal government in protecting the health of Canadians, getting people back to work, and protecting the most vulnerable populations. It includes investments in key priority areas, priorities for Canadians, like supporting those who do not have paid sick leave and ensuring safe childcare so parents across this country can return to work. These investments will help communities build back from the pandemic. Certainly, municipalities are also on the front line of a safe economic restart. Through the agreement, the Government of Canada announced it will contribute up to $2 billion to support municipalities with COVID-19 operating costs over this next 6 to 8 months. Provincial and territorial governments will cost match these federal investments. In addition, getting to work or picking up groceries for your family in a safe way is obviously critical. Municipalities are hard at work implementing new precautions for public transit users, but as we all know, they are also facing significant financial challenges. Public transit must remain a safe, reliable, and affordable way to get around. On July the 23rd, I was very pleased to announce that the Government of Canada would be providing $540 million for public transit in the province of British Columbia, an investment that will be cost-matched by the provincial government. This will allow communities across the province to continue to provide vital public transit services, to get frontline and essential workers to their jobs or people to the grocery store in safe and efficient ways. Today, I am very pleased to announce that BC Ferries will be eligible for federal and provincial funding under the Safe Restart Agreement. The pandemic really showed us how vital public transportation is to keeping our communities moving. As someone who lives and works in North Vancouver, I know how important BC Ferries is to coastal and island communities and to our province as a whole. The decision to invest further in public transit during this difficult time is consistent with the historic investments in public transit that we have made from coast to coast to coast in order to improve traffic congestion, enhance reliability, and to reduce carbon emissions. Certainly, fighting climate change is one of our government's very top priorities. Currently, the transportation sector accounts for a quarter of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions, and public transit plays a key role in making our cities more sustainable and our air cleaner. Through the Investing in Canada plan, we are contributing more than $180 billion over 12 years to projects like public transit and green infrastructure. Today's announcement shows that all levels of government share a common goal. We all want to protect the health of Canadians and ensure a safe restart to our economy. And we need strong communities and strong public transit systems to get there. I certainly want to congratulate and thank the province of British Columbia for the constructive work that it did in working with the federal government and with its counterparts in other provinces and territories to develop the Safe Restart Agreement that will be so fundamentally important to the reopening of our economy. Together, we are working hard to keep Canadians safe and healthy while building a stronger, more resilient Canada for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We will now go over to Victoria for Minister Trevena's remarks. Minister Trevena's remarks. Minister Trevena, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'd like to thank both MP Weiler and Minister Wilkinson in Vancouver. I'm here on the traditional territory of the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nation to participate in what is a very important announcement. It's to underline that the federal government has been a true partner as we respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's announcement is another example of that. Expanding the federal Safe Restart Programme eligibility to include BC Ferries reflects our shared values on the importance of our transit and ferry service to the economic and social health of BC's coastal communities. It is another example of the positive relationship we have with the federal government in responding to the impacts of COVID-19 and working our way through BC's economic recovery. We recognise BC Ferries has experienced significant financial challenges as a result of COVID-19, as have all public transportation agencies in the province. Under unprecedented emergency conditions, BC Ferries and its employees have worked to keep ferries operating for people and have been instrumental in ensuring essential goods get to their destination. We want to ensure potential provincial and federal Safe Restart funding helps BC Ferries to continue to deliver service, but it must be done in a way that ensures the interests of people and coastal communities are front and centre. The provincial government is working with BC Ferries to fully understand its operational and financial challenges resulting from COVID-19, including its plans to safely return to pre-COVID-19 service levels. This is the same process that is currently happening with other transportation agencies, with TransLink and with BC Transit. A task force is in place with representation from the provincial government, the BC Ferry Authority Board, the BC Ferry Services Board and BC Ferries. It's working collaboratively to ensure that when BC Ferries is ready to bring forward a comprehensive relief proposal, all necessary information is made available to support government's decision. Our decisions on applying a portion of the federal funding, along with our own matched funding for BC Ferries, will be based on considerations that put the public interest first. As we work towards finding solutions, I expect BC Ferries to emphasise its focus on ensuring the public interest is a priority. This means restoring service to pre-COVID-19 levels, keeping fares affordable, and contributing to the safe and responsible restart of our economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now request Minister Wilkinson to come back to the podium for the questions. But before that, a reminder to the media to please press *1 to line up for questions. We will be taking one question and one follow-up. And please do not mute your phones. You will not be heard until I call your name. We begin today with Rob Shaw, Vancouver Sun. Rob, go ahead, please.
Oh, hi. Minister Wilkinson, I was wondering if you could start off by just speaking about why this took so long. I know that our Premier and Minister Trevena have been talking about it for a while now, trying to convince the federal government to include BC Ferries in this. What was the delay in making this all clear that they are in fact eligible?
Well, I think there's been a series of negotiations that have been going on with provinces and territories around the allocation of funds under various streams in the Safe Restart Agreement. I think it was just really a function of the work that needed to get done to get to the point where we actually had clarity with respect to this. Certainly, there are many of us who have been very supportive of the idea that BC Ferries would be included. But as I say, I mean, there are a whole range of decisions that needed to be made and negotiations that were ongoing, not just with British Columbia, but with other provinces and territories as well.
Do you have a follow-up, Richard? Rob?
Thanks. Minister Trevena, there are two sort of service levels for BC Ferries. There's the contract levels for BC Ferries. There's the contract level, and then there's the discretionary sailings on top of that you provided funding for last month for the 11 minor coastal routes that expires in September. Is your expectation with this restart funding that BC Ferries will carry on those discretionary sailings as well, or are you just looking at a continuation of base contract service levels?
Well, we are working with BC Ferries to find out the impacts of the pandemic on the ferry service, the impacts of Ferry's own decisions on ferry service through the pandemic, as well as looking forward to what BC Ferries needs at the moment and needs moving forward. So we came forward earlier on, as mentioned, with $180,000 to ensure that those routes continued, that service continued. And at the core of what we are looking at with BC Ferries here is to make sure that the public interest is captured in plans for the future. That means keeping fares affordable and that service levels do continue, that we go back to pre-COVID-19 service levels.
Thank you. And the next question is from Richard Zussman, Global News. Richard, go ahead, please.
This may be for both ministers. I'm just trying to get a sense of the dollar figures that are being looked at here and whether this money will be part of the already secured commitment to British Columbia that qualifies for municipalities as well as both transit, BC Transit and TransLink.
Minister Trevena, would you like to take this, please?
Sure. So we are matching the federal government's funding. So we have made $1 billion available. This is going to be to ensure that we can, when we're rebuilding our economy, when we're rebuilding BC, that we can ensure that there is good public transportation for people across the province, whether it is in Metro Vancouver with TransLink, across the province with BC Transit, or servicing our marine highway with BC Ferries. We want to make sure that that money is available to rebuild BC in a very strong way.
Thank you. Minister Wilkinson.
I don't have a lot to add. As Minister Trevena said, there's $1 billion between the federal share and the provincial share that will be allocated amongst a number of the transit authorities, including BC Ferries in the province over the coming weeks. So,
Thank you. And do you have a follow-up, Richard?
I do. And for Minister Trevena, is this a good opportunity, as interim Green Party leader Adam Olsen has suggested, to have a larger rethink about the role of BC Ferries and removing the status that currently exists amongst ferries? Is this a good time to have that conversation?
Well, our government has been focused on ensuring that BC Ferries works in the public interest. We put that into the Coastal Ferries Act last year to make sure that the public interest comes first. And we've demonstrated that through our actions by reducing fares when we first formed government, by bringing back the free seniors fares, and by reinstating service levels that were cut by the former government. So we are absolutely committed to our coastal communities, the people who live and work in our coastal communities. And as we rebuild out of COVID, we want to continue to ensure that investment is made. And that's why we're sitting down with BC Ferries to make sure that as they come through this, as they bring forward their plan for the future, that it has public interest at the soul of it, at the heart of it, and that it is ensuring that it's bringing back pre-COVID service levels, as well as ensuring that fares remain affordable.
Thank you. And the next question is from Carla Wilson, Times columnist. Carla, go ahead, please.
Are we going to see any application for more fare hikes?
Mr. Trevena?
Well, we're working with BC Ferries and have said very clearly that we want to be able to work with BC Ferries, but we don't think that it is in the best interest, the public interest at the moment when we're building out of COVID to be raising fares. We have people who are struggling, people who've been laid off, who rely on the ferry system. And so BC Ferries is working with us. We have the task force going, but we don't think that the best way forward for BC Ferries would be to be increasing fares. We're looking at a true public interest.
You have a follow-up, Carla?
Well, yes, thank you. You're talking, Minister Trevena, about going back to pre-COVID service levels. I'm wondering what kind of timeline you've got in mind for something like that, what we can expect for the long-term effect on service levels.
This is why we're working with BC Ferries and why we have the task force. We're looking for ferries to provide a plan of how it is wanting to build out of COVID. They made decisions early on that had an impact. There have been decisions made since then that have had an impact, and we're seeing the reality of summer traffic now. So everything is really is a shifting field. BC Ferries is sitting down with us. We have the Authority Board, the Services Board, government sitting down with BC Ferries to get that plan. So we're looking forward to see the proposal that BC Ferries brings to us. As I say, we want to make sure that public interest is at the heart of it, as it is now at the heart of the Coastal Ferries Act.
Thank you. The next question is from Moira Witten, the Tyee.
Hi, good afternoon, Minister Trevena. My question is about the vessel we learned about last week that docked in Burnaby, and crew members later tested positive. To your knowledge, were you satisfied that crews were truthful when they began their arrival in BC?
This one is that the BC Ferries arrived in Burnaby and they did not test positive. I'm sorry, I missed this story.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I assume this would be under your portfolio. But there was a vessel last week that we learned about, a U.S. Shipping vessel where crews later tested positive, and now 3 BC Coast pilots are self-isolating. And I'm just wondering if you have any knowledge about any information that may have led to that exposure event.
That would be something that was worked through both Public Health and Transport Canada. That is a federal issue, so it hasn't fallen on my desk. But I'm sure that our Minister of Public Safety, Public Health Office, and Transport Canada are all fully aware of this.
Thank you. Would you have another question?
I do, thank you. For Minister Trevena again, you mentioned the importance of ensuring the safety of smaller communities along BC's coast, and I'm just wondering, as shipping and transportation begins to pick up, are you satisfied with the prevention and screening measures in place at provincial and federal levels to ensure that the virus is not introduced into these communities?
We have had a very robust process. I think that people are very cautious in BC. We've all been following the advice of Dr. Henry in the public health. I think that institutions such as BC Transit and TransLink introducing masks, making masks mandatory soon, BC Ferries urging people to wear masks under Transport Canada guidelines. If people are out of their vehicles, there's not space for physical distancing. These are all becoming ingrained, I believe. So there is a lot of work being done to make sure that people remain safe and following the public health guidelines of don't travel if you're sick. Stay at home. Make sure that you are not that you can keep social distancing. So I think that all the public health guidelines are what we continue to follow.
Thank you. And the next question comes from David Molko, CTV News. David, go ahead, please.
Hi, Minister Trevena. Thanks for making time here. Essentially what you're saying is to BC Ferries and this task force is tell us what you need, what it looks like, why you need it, and then we'll work on a plan. I guess my question for you is, do you worry, given sort of the unpredictability of the pandemic and how the year has gone so far, that the funding that's made available may not be enough to go around, not just for ferries, but across the board? Is that a concern for you?
We're working very hard with BC Ferries, with BC Transit, and with TransLink, with the three transportation agencies, to make sure that they are able to continue to provide service for people as we rebuild, as we go through the restart. We're making sure that we keep service levels as high as possible, that there will be fares that will not go that will be kept affordable when it comes to BC Ferries. That's what we are asking, that they keep in mind the public interest. We have set aside up to $1 billion for the three agencies. We are doing matching dollars with the federal government, but we are working as we can with the information that BC Ferries will provide us, as well as Transit and TransLink, to make sure that all three agencies can continue in a strong way into the future, because public transportation, whether it's BC Ferries or SkyTrain or the bus, is vital for people to be able to participate in the economy and have good lives as we build out of this pandemic.
Do you have a follow-up, David?
I do. Given sort of what we saw with the ferry system and the routes back in March and April, but given now that there's a learning curve with COVID, that there's measures put into place, that there's sort of a public confidence of what you can do and systems put in place from top down, how concerned are you about a potential rise in cases, what that could mean for the ferry service and so on moving forward as we kind of move into the fall and the winter? Again, this whole idea of uncertainty. What are your kind of concerns around that and being able to maintain levels that serve British Columbians?
We have to maintain levels that serve British Columbians, and this is what we're asking BC Ferries to do as the ferry provider. BC Ferries is going to be bringing forward a plan. We've got a task force going with BC Ferries. They'll be bringing forward a plan for how they are going to be rebuilding out of COVID. I'm sure it will have nuances about scenarios that might come into play, but we're looking for them to bring forward a plan for what their next steps are to deal with what has happened in the last number of months, what BC Ferries has done, what the impact the pandemic has had on BC Ferries, on the decisions they've made as a result of that, and going forward into what the plan will be for the future.
Thank you. And we have one last question, and that comes from Sarah Zenos, Radio Canada. Sarah, go ahead, please.
Hi, my question is for Minister Wilkinson. I was wondering, specific part of the fund that will be reserved for BC Ferries, and if it was possible to have an answer in French as well.
So the $540 million that the federal government has committed, alongside matching funding from the province, will be allocated to all of the transit authorities in British Columbia, including BC Ferries, TransLink, BC Transit. The precise split in terms of that is something that I think the provincial government is still working through, but certainly that will come forward in due time. En français, le gouvernement fédéral a donné 540 millions de dollars pour adresser les enjeux de transit en Colombie-Britannique. Et le gouvernement de Colombie-Britannique a fait exactement la même chose. Il y a $1 milliard pour les investissements dans le transit en commun. Mais la décision pour combien la monnaie va aller pour BC Transit, BC Ferries et TransLink, il n'y a pas une décision sur ça maintenant, mais bien sûr, le gouvernement de Colombie-Britannique va faire les décisions dans la prochaine semaine.
Do you have a follow-up, Sarah?
Sure, thank you. I was just wondering, what are the criteria that were taken in account in order to include BC Ferries in the Safe Restart Agreement? And same thing, if it was possible to have an answer in French as well.
I can start, and Minister Trevena may want to say a couple of words. But I mean, I think that the fundamental reality is that in the way that the TransLink is very important for people in the Lower Mainland to be able to get around, to go to their jobs, to take care of their families. BC Ferries is similarly important from a transit perspective for coastal communities. And I think it's entirely appropriate in a province like British Columbia that we are thinking about the transit needs of all communities, not simply those folks who live in large cities. And that is fundamentally why BC Ferries was included. En français, c'est important que les besoins de transport pour tous les villages, pas seulement les grandes villes, sont considérés quand nous faisons les investissements sur le transit en commun. Bien sûr, pour les villes, les villages de la côte, c'est très important qu'il y a l'accès au BC Ferries pour assurer qu'il peut voyager pour le travail, mais aussi pour assurer que les besoins de leur famille sont taken care of. Et c'est pour ça, c'est très important en Colombie-Britannique que le BC Ferries est considéré dans les investissements pour le transport en commun.
Minister Trevena, would you like to add something?
I would like to really just underline what Minister Wilkinson said. BC Ferries is important as TransLink is important, as Trans is important. We have a very diverse province. People use transit in different ways in different parts of the province, but we really need to make sure that the three agencies are able to move forward looking at the future as we build out of COVID, that we have three very different systems operating, but we want to make sure that all are healthy and are able to move on and help people move as we rebuild our economy.
Thank you very much, and this brings us to the end of this event. Thank you all for joining.